If you've just downloaded the rules for Modulorka and you're itching to get playing but don't know where to start, in this video I'm going to show you the basics so that by the end of the video you'll know everything you need to know to get set up and start playing your first game. If you've never heard of Modulorka, it's a free to print and play skirmish game where orc wargangs battle it out for supremacy. Players face off over several rounds to complete missions, from classic all-out death matches to missions where you'll have to take out the enemy leader in order to win, to silliness such as herding errant goblins. Completing missions gets you victory points or VP, and whoever closes out the game with the most VP takes the match. Modulorka is an alternating activation game. What this means is that you take a turn to activate one of your models, do something exciting with them, and then your opponent gets a go to do the same. Players alternate, each activating one model at a time until all the models on the board have been activated, at which point the round is over and you'll start all over again. When a preset number of rounds is finished, you tally up the VP and crown the winner. Now, when a model is activated, they can do all kinds of interesting things, which the game calls actions. When a model is activated, they can take up to 2 actions, but some actions, mostly the offensive ones like shooting and clobbering, will end your turn straight after. Your models can move to get behind cover, to get to a better position, or to charge towards a foe. Most models can move in a 6-inch path per each movement action, and the game doesn't really care about orientation, so a model can move or attack in 360 degrees. Your models can use attack actions, either a ranged attack, which the game calls shooting with no G, or a melee attack, which the game calls clobbering. If you want more detail on how they work in the game, you can actually check out this video in the top right corner. I explain it all in much more depth there. Your model might also have the option to use abilities. These are unique actions granted via their class or gear loadout. Now, actions give new tactical options, like a new and deadly offensive attack, or a buff or debuff, such as a heal or speed boosts. Abilities end your turn after they've been used by default, but there are some exceptions. Missions might require you to interact with an objective or similar, and you do that using mission actions, which are outlined in each mission. The final kind of action is state actions, where you do something that impacts the state a model is in, normally removing or adding a state. States modify the way a model behaves, and are used to simulate things like a model chickening out and running away, or becoming blinded with murderous rage. Some states are things that happen to a model, like being set on fire or being stunned, whereas others are states that a model might enter deliberately, such as Overwatch, where a model makes a snapshot at the next thing that moves, or concealment, where a model hides and skulks around out of sight. The most important states are downed and out. When a model runs out of health, they're not automatically out and removed from play, instead they're downed, alive but out of action and critically injured. Their model is flipped onto its side and enters the down state, where all they can do is make a single 3-inch move. If they can get within 3 inches of a leader, that leader can rally them with an action which will get them back into the fight, but otherwise they're easy pickings, and any enemy model in range and line of sight can level a finishing blow with ease. So that's an overview of the basic system of the game, but here's what you need to do to set up and get ready for a game. The first thing you do is to choose where your lads are going to fight. Select a battlefield card which will show you the map layout and give you recommendations on terrain. The card will also determine the size of the game, specifying how much space you need to play and how big each player's wargang can be. With your battlefield chosen, players will then choose what their lads are going to fight over by selecting missions. Now, this can either be done through a mutual decision, where both players choose a mission that sounds most fun at that time, or it can be done at random. Players pick a primary mission and a secondary mission, and every mission can be picked as either. Through completing missions, players earn victory points, and the player with the most victory points at the end of the game takes the win. The primary mission also determines the length of each game, setting out how many turns the game will take. Missions aren't the only thing that shapes the game, and each game is made totally unique through the use of battlefield condition and event cards. Battlefield condition cards do exactly what you think they might. They change the condition of the battlefield. Maybe fog obscures the battlefield and limits visibility, or a herd of aggressive beasts invades and stampedes through the battlefield and causes just an ungodly annoyance. Event cards are kept secret until the mid-game, and again are there to add some unexpected twists to your games. It could be that the battlefield is suddenly bombarded, forcing every model to take cover, or maybe a freak blizzard has frozen all the orcs in place and they won't be able to make any movement actions that round. They can be super fun and really inject some added energy into the mid-game. But with the battlefield and the missions ready, we can now start to build our wargang. In Modulorka, players are allocated a number of points which they can spend to purchase models and equipment, much like other games. Building your gang is a huge part of the game and deserves a bit more explaining than this overview can cover, so I've actually got a video dedicated just to that, which I'll link again up in the top right of the screen for you to go and check out. But remember to check the battlefield card we chose earlier to see how many points each player gets to spend on their wargang. Once all players have chosen and finalized their wargangs, they then roll off to see who will have initiative. The player who wins initiative will get to activate first in the first round, assuming that their opponent doesn't have any orcs that have any sneaky keywords that would enable them to go first instead. So you've got your wargangs, you know who has initiative, now it's time to set up the battlefield. Players take alternating turns placing terrain pieces to add some character to the battlefield. Now, terrain acts as cover, and cover can be incredibly useful in this game, so make sure there's plenty on the board so that your models can advance throughout the board without getting sniped. But at the same time, make sure your models have room to move around too. Then begin placing your objectives, if there are any, in the mission you're playing. And finally, deploy your wargang onto the table in the deployment zone specified on the battlefield card. With your table prepped and your gangs deployed, locked and loaded, you're ready to play. Time to get fighting. And to find out how combat works in the game, you can click the video on the left, or if you want to watch a Modulorka battle report to see what the game is like, you can click the video on the right. And once again, you can get everything you need to play 100% free by visiting modulorka.com. Happy clobbering.